Cruises are back in the US, we've got ships sailing again, and there are some big changes Royal Caribbean has made in the meantime. I've got the ones that I think are the most noticeable, most significant, the most you need to know about, up next. Hey everyone, it's Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. I'm now back from my third Royal Caribbean cruise in over 15 months, and it feels good to be back on a cruise ship a couple times already. But this week, I wanted to talk about the biggest changes Royal Caribbean has made so far on ships sailing again. So if you're not aware, Royal Caribbean has restarted cruise operations from North America in a couple spots, including Miami and the Bahamas. And more Royal Caribbean cruise ships are going to be restarting very soon. So by the end of the summer, we're going to have a nice handful of cruise ships sailing from various locations, not only in North America, but also Europe. And with that comes changes because, of course, in order to get restarted and adhere, of course, to government regulations, Royal Caribbean had to make some changes to its rules. Some of these changes are based on rules that Royal Caribbean decided they wanted to make, and some of these changes are results of regulations set forth national and local laws. So if you're going on a cruise anytime soon, some of these may apply. Now, I need to warn everybody that the protocols are changing a lot, and Royal Caribbean was very certain to note that the protocols they have on their ships really are specific to the ship and where it is sailing from. So if you see a rule that's on Freedom of the Seas from Miami, it could be totally different rules, and likely is, on Adventure of the Seas from the Bahamas or Independence of the Seas from Galveston. And in a lot of cases, these rules are changing. So if you're seeing the rules here in the video, though, as the day comes out, that's fantastic. Thanks for watching this video. But keep in mind that a lot will change. So you want to make sure you check out the new rules on Royal Caribbean's website as soon as you're looking to book a cruise or as you get close to sailing on your cruise to be very certain about what the rules are. Today, I wanted to look at all the protocols we know about and identify the biggest changes Royal Caribbean has made so far on those ships so that you're aware of them. Starting number one, mask requirements on some ships. You know, on land, mask requirements are really starting to go to the wayside here in the United States, but on a cruise ship, you may have to wear a mask. For Freedom of the Seas from Miami in July, Royal Caribbean is requiring guests who are even vaccinated or unvaccinated to wear masks while on board indoors. Now, nobody has to wear a mask outside or at Perfect Day at Coco Cay, and of course, mask wearing at the ports of call your visit will depend on those countries' rules. But inside the ship, on the Royal Promenade, you're going to have to wear a mask on Royal Caribbean's Freedom of the Seas. Now, this rule is a little different on Adventure of the Seas because Adventure of the Seas says if you're vaccinated, you don't need to wear a mask on board. I know, it's confusing. But there are mask requirements, and it looks like for Serenade of the Seas, when she sails from Seattle, the mask requirement will still be there. Now, listen, nobody's excited to wear a mask, chief among them me. I mean, it's not something that anyone wants to do, and eventually, I think this rule will go by the wayside. Why do I say that? Well, it looks like there's some reports out there that Royal Caribbean is expecting an update from the CDC about an option to waive onboard mask mandates. I don't want to get too far ahead or speculate or give anybody any false hope, but there are reports out there that the CDC is constantly reviewing the protocols and mask mandates may come to an end. But as of right now, that is still a thing on board, at least some ships. Now, this change is probably the biggest one yet that a lot of people will face, and this is on every ship that I'm aware of right now for Royal Caribbean, and that is the Windjammer is closed for dinner. So the Windjammer, of course, is the buffet option on board every Royal Caribbean ship. Super popular, and it's open for breakfast and lunch, but not dinner. The reason being, there just aren't enough guests on board to make it worthwhile to run it for dinner. So instead, your choices for dinner are the main dining room, room service, or one of the many specialty restaurants, in addition to, of course, maybe a grab-and-go option at a Cafe Promenade or Sorrento's. Not having dinner option in the buffet for some people is a bigger deal than others, but I think it's a bigger deal on days in which you're doing a lot of stuff on shore and you're coming back to the ship and you just don't have time or the desire or the energy to get ready for dinner in a restaurant setting. If you're spending a whole day on shore exploring and doing all those fun things, when you get back on the ship, you might be tired, and the last thing you want to do necessarily is spending all that time to get dressed and ready for a restaurant, and of course, maybe even skipping a nap, which I absolutely love doing after a busy day on shore. And the Windjammer was fantastic for that option, that you always had that in your back pocket, that if all else failed, okay, forget it, we'll skip to the main dining room and go to the buffet instead. So that option isn't there. What this really means is you got to plan ahead a little bit more. Maybe book specialty restaurants, but book it for later in the evening. So that way you can have a little bit more time to relax in your room before you go to dinner. Or maybe you eat dinner on shore and just skip it on board the ship and maybe get a snack later on. You can do that as well. But the Windjammer being closed for dinner, I found it to be a little more of an issue than I expected, just because it's one of those things that while you're sitting at home, sure, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but then when you're on board the ship and you run into, again, a long, fun day exploring and having a great time on shore, and then you realize, man, I really wish the Windjammer was open for dinner. So something to keep in mind. Next up is testing, and there's a lot of different testing requirements depending on where your ship sails from. If you're going on adventure of the seas from the Bahamas, there's a testing requirement for everybody in order to possibly get on board the Royal Caribbean ship. Whereas if you're sailing from the US, there may be testing requirements for people that are unvaccinated. But if you're fully vaccinated, then there are no test requirements for you. In addition to that, Royal Caribbean is requiring anybody who is unvaccinated beginning in August to have mandatory travel insurance. So this means that if you're unvaccinated, you must show proof of travel insurance that you've purchased to cover the basics for your cruise vacation, so that way you're covered in case of an emergency. On the surface, having to buy extra travel insurance is obviously an additional cost, although I actually think people having travel insurance is really not a bad idea. It's actually a good idea. After all, you never can be too safe, and travel insurance is not that expensive to get, but it is obviously an additional cost for some folks who may not have been considering getting it. So it's one of those, depends who you are and your opinion on it, but I think actually getting travel insurance is not a terrible idea, and I would recommend that for really anybody who's going on a cruise, whether you're vaccinated or not. But it is a change you should be aware of. And again, leading up to your cruise, you'll get these protocols and requirements from Royal Caribbean, but you want to make sure you're aware of those changes. Now, the biggest change anybody going on a cruise ship this summer is going to notice is the limited capacity on the ships. And what that really means is there's no crowds or lines. I'm going to be honest with everybody, going on a cruise right now is amazing. Not only because you're on a ship and I absolutely love it, but because there's no lines, there's no crowds. It is absolutely going to spoil anybody, including myself, going on a cruise and not waiting for the elevator, being able to go on all the water slides, a perfect day at Coco Key, or on the back of a Royal Caribbean cruise ship without lines as well. Heck, you don't even have to compete for a chair by the pool in the middle of the afternoon. That is how uncrowded it is, and it is absolutely fantastic. So this isn't a bad thing, but because of the limited capacity right now, going on a cruise means you really don't have to worry about lines or crowds, and it just makes the onboard experience so much easier. So that's an added benefit, and if you have the opportunity to go on a cruise this summer, I would really recommend it for this reason. As long as limited capacity is in play, there's a really nice side effect for us as passengers because, again, it kind of feels like you have the ship to yourself. And the last major change that Royal Caribbean has made are the diamond drinks change. So because of social distancing regulations, Royal Caribbean decided, you know what, we don't want a lot of people cramming into the Diamond Lounge every evening like they traditionally do in order to enjoy some complimentary drinks in that space. Instead, Royal Caribbean is giving all the Diamond members, Diamond, Diamond Plus, and Pinnacle, additional vouchers that they can use throughout the day on any drink they want. They can still go in the Diamond Lounge in limited fashion, but there won't be unlimited drinks there. The idea is that if you have to have a set amount of drinks per day that you can enjoy that are complimentary, whether you're in the Diamond Lounge or not, then the impetus for spending time in the Diamond Lounge may be lessened. Personally, I love this change because it gives us as Diamond members more options in their menu of the complimentary drinks you got. Number two, we get more of them. And number three, while I enjoy the Diamond Lounge as much as anybody, I wasn't one of those folks that spent a lot of time in there. I know there's a lot of Diamond guests that enjoy the social aspect of being in the Diamond Lounge and spending time in there and getting to know everybody, but there's a lot of other lounges on the ship you can do very similar things to. To me, I'm willing to make that trade-off. Whether or not this policy is going to be limited or going to come back or be permanent, I'm not sure on that. I'm hearing very different things, and maybe it'll be here forever. I don't know. But in the meantime, it's a really good value add for guests because, after all, it means getting 4, 5, or more complimentary drinks of any kind of alcoholic beverage you want every day of the cruise. It's a really good consideration, alternative, quite frankly, to Royal Caribbean's very popular drink package. And it has me thinking that maybe on my next cruise, I won't buy the drink package and instead rely on the diamond drinks. I reserve the right to totally change my mind on this, but it's a very compelling option. And I think it's a welcome change in my opinion, but I'm sure there will be others that disagree with me. Speaking of that, I'd love to hear in the comments below this video if you agree with me on that change or any of these changes. What do you think about these big changes Royal Caribbean made so far? What changes do you want to see Royal Caribbean make on their cruise ships as they begin to restart operations. Let me know in the comments below as well. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on your notifications. That's that little bell icon so that YouTube will let you know when I have a brand new video to share. This has been Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com, and we'll talk again real soon.